What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the Pika Pika Papa, and I am so incredibly excited to do this video today. I have been waiting for all the data to come in and the puzzle pieces to fall into place, and here we are, and we can actually do a very deep dive into all of the Scarlet and Violet booster boxes and have some understanding of what underlying metrics might give some of them a leg up in terms of long-term price appreciation. Now, I want to be clear, I am doing this video as much for myself as I am for you, and that's because I am trying to take lessons from the past. At the end of Sword and Shield, I was very excited. I was collecting everything, all kinds of sealed product, but now when I look back, remember hindsight's always 20/20, I feel like I was a little too fragmented in my collecting focus, and it's not that I don't love what I have, I very much do, but I think I would have been happier if I had just narrowed my focus. Obviously, you know, that's always going to happen. Hindsight's always 20/20, like I just said, but I am trying to take some of those lessons and apply them now. The other reason I'm doing it as much for me as it is for you is simply because the environment right now that we're in with Scarlet and Violet is fundamentally different than it was in Sword and Shield, right? Like Silver Tempest came out, which was the end of the Sword and Shield booster boxes, and you had a year plus to buy booster boxes like Vivid Voltage and Battle Styles and Astral Radiance and Brilliant Stars and Silver Tempest, and I mean the list goes on and on and on. All of those were available a year after Silver Tempest came out at MSRP at the Pokemon Center. Now guess what? That ain't happening, folks. You know that and I know that. Sure, there's going to be some reprints along the way and some of us are going to get very lucky and be able to pick these products up at MSRP, but that is going to be few and far between. So what I want to do right now is I want to identify these booster boxes that I have big beliefs in, and these are the ones that I want to put some of my extra cash into because I do know the Mega Series is coming out soon, and when that series comes out, I know I'm going to want to go really, really heavy into it. So I'm going to want to be cemented as firmly as I can in my Scarlet and Violet investment space now. That way later on I make sure that I'm not trying to fight two different fronts, right? I'm not trying to add more Scarlet and Violet while I'm also trying to add all these mega sets that are coming out. So that is the whole purpose of this video. Now, obviously, as you can see, we're going to look at some crazy booster box metrics. We're going to look at pull rates for chase cards. We're going to look at gem rates. We're going to look at chase card value. We're going to look at the value of the total cards in the set, booster box prices, all kinds of stuff. But before we even get into that, I am going to look at the pictures of all of the chase cards and the number 2 chase cards from each of these sets. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest, the name at the top of those cards, the artwork, just the overall collectability and drive and interest in those, that's what makes this hobby great. That's what makes collecting Pokemon awesome. So we're going to spend some time in that because obviously those awesome artworks and those awesome cards is what's really going to give these sets the biggest long-term demand, because that's what this is all about. It's just a simply supply and demand play. So before I get into that, I've got to tell you, this is another video where we do a ton of research behind the scenes. We try and get all the information together and present it to you so you don't have to do the work on your own. So if you're getting into this, if you're having fun, if you find value in the content, hit that subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. Those two small things go a long way in helping my small channel out, and I really appreciate it. So as I promised you, we are going to look at the chase cards right now from those Scarlet and Violet booster box sets, and this is some incredible artwork. It really is. Like top to bottom, I mean, it is really hard to find a card on here that doesn't get me excited. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all super valuable. It doesn't mean that these all are going to be worth enough money to put your kids through college in the future, but I do think that the Scarlet and Violet generation did a great job of giving us some awesome artwork. Obviously, we've got some big names in here. You got the Mewtwo, which is going to perform super well. You got the Pikachu. That Magikarp card has a ton of momentum on it. Even the Charizard from Obsidian Flames, I think that is light years better than the Charizard from Darkness Ablaze back in the Sword and Shield era. And then even some of the support cards, right? Greninja, which is not typically a huge name in the Pokemon investing and collecting space. You don't typically see people chasing Greninja cards, but that card just came out of left field and kicked down the door. And then Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces, again, not the biggest names in the entire space, although Groudon's pretty freaking popular, but you just have some awesome artwork. So I think Scarlet and Violet did a really great job of giving us some cards to go after there at the very top. And then when you look at their supporters, not too shabby, my friends, either. It's really exciting to me to see a couple of trainer cards up here, right? We don't really see that nowadays. Trainer cards got hot like 3 years ago, and then all of a sudden they disappeared off the radar. You got Cynthia's Garchomp up there, number 2 card in Destined Rivals. You got the Perrin card from Twilight Masquerade. You got Iono from Paldea Evolved. And then when you look at the other ones, I love that Latias card from Surging Sparks. Surging Sparks is one of my hands down favorite sets. I love the fact the 1-2 card in that is absolutely one of my favorite lineups. Even the Iron Crown from Temporal Forces, I like the artwork on that. There's just a lot to love about these Scarlet and Violet sets and the artwork that has come along with it. So now that we're done looking at the artwork and talking about the cards, we've got to talk about the underlying metrics, because that's what this video is all about. So one of the most important things that we have seen correlate to strong booster box price growth over time has been pull rates. The worse the pull rate, the better the sealed product does. And that's because the worse the pull rate, obviously, the rarer the chase card ends up being, which equates to a higher price of the chase card, which usually leads to a higher price of the booster boxes. So one of the things we're going to look at right here is you got Destined Rivals, right? Out of all of the regular sets, that has the worst pull rate, coming in at about 1 in every 1,033 packs for that chase card. Then Surging Sparks, not too far behind it. Again, Surging Sparks, I think, is a fantastic set with a lot going for it, coming in with the chase card pull rate of 1 in every 960. And then Twilight Masquerade with that Greninja, 1 in every 941. And Temporal Forces, a sneaky set. I didn't even realize the pull rates were that bad in that set until I did this video, and it comes in at 1 in 855. Don't sleep on Paradox Rift either, even though it's not highlighted in yellow. 1 in every 712 packs. But then outside of that, things start getting a little better from a collector perspective because the pull rates get higher. Journey Together is a great example of a set where the pull rates were really frothy, and then we just haven't seen the amount of interest in that set that I think some people thought right before it launched. Obviously, you know, the owner Pokemon, trainer Pokemon, whatever you want to call them, I just think they fell a little bit flat. Plus, it was sandwiched in between what I consider two of the very best sets from the Scarlet and Violet era. Plus, you had this also macro level influence where the market was starting to downturn as soon as Journey Together came out. So you put all that together, and Journey Together has just come a little bit flat. Stellar Crown is another one, 1 in every 540 packs. Then you get down to Obsidian Flames, which is the highest pull rate for those chase cards, 1 in every 216 packs. So very interesting stuff to talk about. Now, the next things we're going to look at is kind of interesting. So the gem rate represents, out of all of the cards that have been sent to PSA for each of these sets, what percentage of them resulted in a PSA 10 holder. So in the column to the right, I have the total number of cards that were sent into grading, and you might be wondering why I have that. Well, that has also been another indicator of big popularity within the set, and in the long run, what's going to drive the value of it. All of this is supply and demand. So interest in a set equals high grading volume, which in the long run should equal more demand. Again, this is another metric that we've back tested, and high grading volume can at times lead to really strong booster box prices. And then the gem rates is, to me, that's the biggest story from the Scarlet and Violet era, okay? It has just been abysmal for the entire Scarlet and Violet generation. I kept thinking it was going to get better. I kept thinking the print quality would improve, and it just didn't happen. To put it in some perspective, if you look at Sword and Shield, the lowest gem rate regular series set in Sword and Shield was Lost Origin, and it was just shy of 50%. All of the other ones were in like the mid 60s. It was just incredible. Some of them were almost as high as a 70% gem rate. And then when you look at all these different sets, top to bottom, you'll see that the highest one was Twilight Masquerade at almost 50%. And outside of that, it starts dropping big time. A set like Journey Together, I know we have a relatively small submission base, but still only a 37.3% gem rate. Surging Sparks, again, I can't say it enough, only a 35.6% gem rate. Absolutely love it. And then you keep going down there. Obsidian Flames, Paldea Evolved, really low gem rates. Like, it's just interesting to see all of these really low gem rates for these sets. And again, what that usually equates to, if the gem rate is low, as long as it has a decent chase card, then the PSA 10 of that chase card, the price is going to be relatively high. Now, when you have a high PSA 10 price, traditionally you see the raw card price is high too, because everybody's out there trying to chase those raw minty cards in order to send them into PSA in hopes of popping a PSA 10 and having that big value unlock by transitioning from a raw to a PSA 10 card. So that's why the gem rate matters. They can help inflate the chase card price, which can also help keep booster box prices high. So speaking of chase cards, here it is. These are the chase card prices at the time of me shooting this video. I'm not 100% sure when I'm going to drop it. I've got a lot of travel for my regular job on the script, so this is the type of video I can drop it almost any time. So who knows when it's going to come out. But when you look at the chase cards, you really have the big four. You got the Destined Rivals Mewtwo, which is almost at $400. That price is going to fluctuate a whole lot. The Surging Sparks Pikachu has been holding steady at $285, $290. Love the card, sub $300. Twilight Masquerade Greninja at $281. Paldea Evolved Magikarp at $208. But outside of that, it gets much, much lower in terms of pricing, okay? You have Journey Together, you got the Lily's Clefairy, which has been dropping like a rock, down to $133 right now, and outside that, all the other ones are sub $100. So when you're talking about chase cards, there's just a very few number of these which really stack up and really have that high price tag associated with them. Now, that does not mean that these won't grow over time. We have seen that, right? Right now, there's the maximum amount of these cards in circulation. People are ripping all of these products left and right. So over time, as the product ripping slows down, as the influx of these into the overall market starts to lessen, then we could see some of these prices appreciate over time, which I do expect with really low gem rates. So it'll be interesting to see, but for now, those are clearly the ones that are standing out. Now, a metric we've never looked at before, but I was interested in, these three columns right here. So the total set is literally the combined value of every single card in the set, starting with the chase card at number 1, all the way down to a card that's worth a penny at the very bottom, every single one. Then in the column on the right, those are the total number of cards that were in the set. And then to the right of that, it's simply a function. The total value of the set divided by the total number of cards gives you the average dollar per card. Now, again, Destined Rivals is really new. I expect that number to change, but Journey Together and Surging Sparks are kind of starting to flatten out, so we're starting to get some pictures painted. And then look down there at Paldea Evolved again. Paldea Evolved has been out for a hot minute. The window of opportunity to buy that set is slamming shut, I promise you. And it's at $2.37 per card, which is crazy. There is really only 4 sets that have a total set value over $1,000 at this point. And Destined Rivals, even though it's going to come down, it will maintain that over $1,000 price point, I guarantee you. So there's only 4 sets right now: Paldea Evolved, Twilight Masquerade, Surging Sparks, and Destined Rivals that have a total set value over $1,000. So I thought that was really relevant, and it's a metric I'm going to start paying more attention to into the future. And then let's finish it off. Let's talk about current booster box prices and where I rank everything. And as no surprise, number 1 and number 2, Destined Rivals is going to be number 1, thanks to the fact that it has an abysmal pull rate, and it's got some of the biggest and baddest cards in recent memory in there, so very excited about Destined Rivals. However, if I was to stack rank everything, I promise you I'd put Prismatic Evolutions above Destined Rivals, and I could be even talked into putting 151 above Destined Rivals as well. But that's a conversation for a different day. Today we're only talking about regular sets. Coming in at number 2, Surging Sparks. Love the Pikachu, love the Latias, love the fact that it's got the second worst pull rates, love the fact that the gem rate is so low, love the fact there's 168,000 cards already submitted to PSA, so obviously people are feverish about this set. Coming in at number 3, I got Twilight Masquerade, and I really struggled with Twilight Masquerade at number 3, or do I put Paldea Evolved at number 3? And the reality is I just feel like Paldea Evolved's already at $316 per booster box. You know, I think Twilight Masquerade probably has, from a percentage standpoint, some more upside, but Paldea Evolved is going to be fantastic in the long run. You can't go wrong with either of these sets. I feel really, really strongly about that. I think that these are clearly going to be the top 4 booster box sets, and I just think all of them have a very, very strong future ahead of them. So when I think about where I'm going to be spending my money, remember, I talked about the Sword and Shield era. Now, I already have booster boxes of all of these, so I would never not have at least 1 booster box of every single set from a generation. So I've already checked that box. I have that. But those 4 sets, and maybe even a little bit of Journey Together, I don't know. It would have to be a fantastic deal for me to buy a Journey Together booster box. But Destined Rivals, I'm going to be buying some. Surging Sparks, I'm going to be buying more of. Twilight Masquerade, I'm certainly going to buy more of. Out of all of these, I have the least amount of exposure to Twilight Masquerade, so I'm going to go heavily on that relatively soon. And then, of course, Paldea Evolved, I've shared with you very transparently. You know, I was buying 1 Paldea Evolved booster box a month for a very long time, early on, like back when these things were sub MSRP, because I just had a feeling it was going to do really well. So I have a nice exposure to Paldea Evolved. Now, coming in at number 5, as I said, Journey Together. I already walked through kind of all the, I don't know, the macro things that were going on, which led to this set falling a little bit flat. The pull rates are good. The market was turning down. It's between 2 super hyped, awesome sets. So it is what it is, but I still have it ranked at number 5. And coming in at number 6 is Temporal Forces, and I think that set is slept on just a little bit. Again, look at the really bad pull rates. Again, you know, the chase card isn't huge, but it's also, when you compare it, I mean, it's a top 6 chase card, right? So again, it's not a terrible chase card in terms of it. I think the set is really deep. You don't have the huge name there at the very top, but a lot of the artwork is really, really engaging. Then coming in at number 7, I got Stellar Crown. I wish I could rank it higher. I wanted it to do more, but the fact that the top 2 cards are illustration rares of Squirtle and Bulbasaur, and the number 1 card, that Squirtle, is coming in at $52, I just can't, with a good conscience, rank it any higher. Then you got Paradox Rift. Paradox Rift is coming in at number 8, and again, this was splitting hairs between where do you put Stellar Crown, where do you put Paradox Rift. I moved Stellar Crown count up simply because I love Squirtle so much. And I have, you know, I'm the author. I can do whatever I want. So that's the only reason I have those two swapped right there. And then Obsidian Flames, I am a big believer in that Charizard as a chase card. The gem rate is really, really bad on that card. So I think at least the PSA 10 prices are going to be relatively high in the long run. But when you look at the total value of the 406 cards in Obsidian Flames coming in at $282, I mean, outside of that Charizard, there just isn't a lot of excitement around the Obsidian Flame set. So even though the Charizard is going to help prop it up, I just don't think it's going to be enough to give that set a whole lot of go juice in the tank for the long run. And then Scarlet Violet base set. You got Gardevoir as the #1 card. You got Miriam in there. It's just not a set that I think is going to do particularly well in the long run, but that's not a knock on it because base sets always don't do very well. Base sets are always relatively weak, right? Pokemon Company just gets the generation going with the base set, and then they start bringing all the fire later on as we get more and more sets released. So no shame in the base set coming in at number 10. So that's it. I've shared with you my ranking of the booster boxes. I've shared with you where I'm going to be spending my money, and I hope you had a ton of fun along the way, and I hope you find all these metrics helpful and useful. And if you did, if you made it to the end, hit that subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. Those two small things go a long way in helping my small channel out. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have an epic rest of your day. See you later, everybody. Bye.